stuff, everything. Even we have like, yeah, all that. No. Then also you can see the chat icon where everyone is already interacting. Nicole is in San Francisco, Rebecca Salt Lake City, Ryan from Denver, Santiago from Colombia. Woohoo! Robert from Toronto. Oh, we are doing Toronto Community Week next month. Robert, you need to join us. Isabella from UK. Yay, UK present. That's great. And then also at the bottom of the chat, there are a few small buttons. The first one with a question mark is the Q&A section. When you click that, you can actually pin a question that we can ask Nicole after her part, all right? And then if you have any others, you can always express in the chat, and we are going to keep an eye to interact with you. Today, the theme that we want to develop is smart ways to bring AI into your community strategy. Nicole was showing us a bit of the content, so it looks really exciting. Let me bring Nicole now, and can give you the official welcome. Hey, Nicole, thanks for coming today. I'm really glad that you managed to make some time around that busy agenda. Like, have you been the last 2 weeks traveling, something like that?
Yeah, no, it's been a busy fall, but it's awesome. I'm getting to be out at a bunch of events, meeting all sorts of community professionals, customer marketing folks. This week I'm at a customer success event. So really, it's cool seeing all of these different teams kind of coming together around community. And I'm so excited to talk to everybody today. This is going to be a really good session.
Nice, nice. Well, if you are not aware of Nicole's story, we have a small story here. Nicole is currently CX executive at Higher Logic, podcast host, community strategist with over 15 years of experience leading customer engagement at high-growth B2B companies. She's the founder of CXN Consulting, co-host of the CX Nexus podcast, and currently serves as Senior Director of CX Strategy at Higher Logic. Previously, Nicole led community and customer marketing at Zendesk and Coupa Software. A passionate connector and mentor, she brings a people-first lens to every customer experience she helps shape. Also, Nicole Saunders is one of our speakers for next month, Toronto Community Week, and she was one of ours in London Community Week in July. So yeah, with everything said,
event.
Oh, Toronto will be amazing. Today we just released the agenda as well. So no more reasons to go check the site. Maybe Paola can also share the website for Toronto Community Week in the chat. So we saw that Robert is actually in Toronto, so maybe he can join us as well. But all of you are invited to stay on and learn more. Without further ado, I think that we want to respect everyone's time as well. If you want to start and test your screen sharing, Nicole, we could get started. So we are going to allow some time for Nicole to develop her theme. And during her presentation, what we would prefer is for you to keep throwing the questions in the Q&A. And likely, I feel that it's easier to go, and after everything, we can go through the questions and you can get more answers. I think sometimes that is a bit easier for us to manage. If something is, any comments that are relevant, of course, I will pop there and let you know, Nicole. So no worries about it. But any hard questions, just put them in the Q&A section, please. All right. Try once more. I think that I missed the button. There you go.
Oh, it's okay. I had to move some things around a little bit. Let's see here. There we go.
There you go.
How are we looking?
Yes, we can see the community and AI title. So yeah,
Great.
we are good to go. We are good to go.
All right. So I'll let everybody know, because I'm on the road, I don't have my second monitor, and that means all I can see are my own slides. So as you have questions and things in the chat, Francisco and Paola, I'm going to lean on you to let me know if there's something I should speak to. Otherwise, I am planning on leaving plenty of room for Q&A at the end of this discussion. And I definitely look forward to connecting with everybody.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, let's dive in. So community and AI. I know this is a really surprising topic that no one has talked about at all in the last 2 years. No, it's something that we're hearing about and we're thinking about a lot. And so I wanted to have a webinar where we actually talk about how are people actually using it, right? Because I think that we've all been hearing a lot about AI and all of the things that we maybe could or should be doing, but what are people actually doing? And so I've kind of got 3 parts to this talk today. First, I'm going to talk a little bit just about like our philosophy, how we should all be thinking about using AI for our communities. Then I've got some real world examples that I can share from what people are doing. And then finally, I'll be able to go through a little bit of what Higher Logic offers and then answer some questions there. And I am going to put my earbuds in just to make sure that we don't have any side sound effects that are bleeding in to the webinar. All right. Sounds good. Let's dig in. All right. So first I wanted to start with Higher Logic's AI philosophy. And I think that this is sort of a good way for all of us to be thinking about AI. So as we've been developing our capabilities, we're really focused on making sure that the heart of the community remains human. And I hope that that resonates with everybody here, because I know that one of the concerns that we've all had as community professionals is, how do we keep the human side of connection in all of this technology that's getting developed? That being said, AI does have the power to clear a path for deeper connection. We'll talk a lot about the different ways that it can do that. But as we've been looking at our features, we're thinking about how it supports human interaction. So things like removing barriers, making it easier for people to connect, helping them find the information that they need better. We're also sort of developing on two tracks. One is, how do we help community managers be more effective at their jobs and take care of some of those things that are inefficient or that maybe can be a challenge to our time, so that we can focus more on the actual human connections? And then how do we really develop features that help users connect to each other and find the information that they need more quickly? So that's how we should all be sort of thinking about AI, in my opinion, is how is it a tool that can augment things and make it easier and make connections better, but without getting in the way of human-to-human interaction? So as you start thinking about AI, and I know like when I started looking at it, I kept being like, I'm not sure what tasks I want to use it for. And it took me a while to like come up with some use cases and some workflows that I actually would help me with. And so what was most useful to me was getting examples and hearing how other people are thinking about it. So first, obviously, we want to be thinking about efficiency. So where are there things that take a lot of time, things that you might be able to automate, routine tasks, stuff that's not the highest and best use of your time? Where can you apply some of the AI tools and workflows to free up time, free up your bandwidth, and make sure that you can really focus on the most meaningful and interesting and creative work that you do? So this is a lot of like automating tasks, automating communications, having it help pull reports, also doing research. And we'll talk a little bit about some examples of how people are doing this, but AI has a great capability to really help you pull together data from multiple sources, make sense of it, align things. And so that's really helpful. The second kind of bucket for thinking about AI is, where can it help give you insights? So similar to that research and reporting efficiency, it's also, where can it give you those deeper insights? This is one of the most important aspects, and I'll touch on this a couple of different times today. But I really think that the power that AI has to help us process a huge amount of information and make sense of it is really, really impactful. If you think about it, most organizations started their community with this great idea of, oh, we're going to get all of our customers together and they're going to post all of these things and we're going to know so much about them. It's going to help us understand what they have questions on and what they're challenged by and how they're feeling about stuff. And then businesses had to figure out, how do we actually operationalize that? What are those workflows? And in a lot of cases, it's somebody like you or me sitting down and reading through the posts. And if you're like me, making a spreadsheet and tagging what all of those things are about to try to pull together a comprehensive summary of what's going on. And that can take hours and hours and hours if you're able to do it all. And that's where I think that AI can be so helpful. You know, I think about being able to export all of the content in my community and have a system read it and then give me the summary and tell me, hey, what are people talking about? And that is one of the things that you can do with AI today. There's other insights that you can gain as well. We're going to talk quite a bit about sentiment analysis today. I mentioned some of the data enrichment. It's also a great tool to help identify really good user-generated content that you might use for other things, identify users who might need different kinds of attention, that sort of thing. And then the third bucket, of course, is the most important. It's the customer experience. What is going to help users? If we think about a lot of things, at the end of the day, many of our systems, whether it's the community or your chatbot or your ticketing system or your knowledge base, it's all about how do we get information to users as quickly as possible so that they can access the value that our products and services are there to offer them. And AI can really support this. So there's a lot of things. We're going to talk about AI search and how it can federate information and summarize it in a really effective way. I think for customers, a big opportunity here is doing matchmaking. Just about every organization I've ever worked for has said, boy, the community is so great. How could we pair people up with other users that are like them? And make sure that they're getting the mentorship, make sure that they're getting the sense of the belonging, make sure they're forming those sub-communities. And I've done a lot of user group programs, and those have gone a long way. I've done some mentorship programs. But if you could really, at scale, identify users who have similar needs, similar interests, things to teach each other, think about how incredibly powerful that could be. And then finally, think about personalization. Along with all of that information that we have in our communities and our knowledge bases and all of our resources, it can be kind of overwhelming for people to navigate and figure out what they need. Imagine if they could share a little bit of information about themselves, and then the bot can also kind of follow along with what they're doing and where they're going and what they're seeing, and help to curate some of that information, help them say, hey, here's an event you might want to join. Here's a sub-community you might want to join. Here's some users you should connect with. Here's some content we think is relevant to you. So a lot of really wonderful opportunities here. Let's talk about this in action a little bit. So I talked to probably about 25 community managers over the last several weeks to find out how people are really using AI today. And so the points that I'm going to share here, some of them are examples that are an amalgamation of multiple users. Some are very specific individuals. I won't pretend this is comprehensive or scientific. I was pinging people on LinkedIn and talking to people at conferences and connecting with everybody I could. I also would love to hear your stories. So if you are someone that is using AI today, let's please connect, because this is a conversation I'm going to keep having for the foreseeable future. There's going to be more webinars, there's going to be more workshops, there's going to be more talks like the one that we're giving in Toronto. And so I'd really love to be able to share those real world use cases, because I think this is where we can help each other the most. So obviously one of the most common is advancing and automating moderation. Now, really, we've all been using AI for a very long time, because all of us have spam filters. Many of us have routing and tagging and things like that in our community, and those are all forms of AI. But the technologies that have been coming out more recently are expanding on that and augmenting those basic capabilities to not just tag content or mark things that are spam, but also help us identify bad actors, help us identify posts that maybe are AI generated, right? We all know that there's probably some bots in our communities, and AI can actually help us identify those. I think there's more sophisticated kinds of routing that are happening too. I talked to one team that has a whole thing set up where they can identify a post that's got strong negative sentiment, have it auto-generate a ticket, and have the system tag it and basically route it to another team for escalation. And so instead of having to wait for their community manager to get online and moderate everything and go through that, they've got those systems happening in real time. And I think that that is a really great way to keep that running more efficiently. All right, a second example, custom agents. This was one that really surprised me and one that I had not thought about, but it's really, really interesting. I talked to one person who's built over 35 bots and agents to help her in her workflows. And that was so cool. So one of the things that she did, she gave me examples of a couple of the bots. I talk a lot about being cross-functional, working with other teams. We talk about how to connect your community into different parts of your business. So she created a bot basically that said, I want to get, whenever I've got a new program or a new piece of content, please give me the perspective of all of these different people around my organization. So tell me what the product managers would think of this. Give me the perspective of the customer success managers. Give me the perspective of the marketing team. And so she was able to basically converse with this bot when she had a new idea and get a sense of what the other teams in her organization, what their challenges, what their objections, where they might be champions of different things, what their input might be. And so when she went into those conversations with those real people, she was better equipped to speak to their needs. And I thought that was such an incredible use case. Another one that she built helps her develop case studies. So she would feed it community content and posts. It would look at what people were posting about, help identify individuals that had interesting things, and then pull in information from other sources to help develop a case study. So I think agents are a really exciting area. And actually, that's one that I hope to do a follow-up webinar on in a couple of months and really unpack how people are using those in different use cases. Another area is auto-generated roundups. So I found a community manager and actually a couple of different community managers who have AI generating summaries of what happened in the community that week, which is helpful both for internal teams, but could also be published for external to help the community understand, hey, here's the top posts of the week, here's what's going on, that kind of a thing. And that is something I know I used to do those manually every week. I'd read through all the posts and I'd figure out the highlights and I'd identify a question that hadn't been answered that I wanted to point people to and that kind of thing. AI can really help you generate it. One caveat, and you'll hear me say this anytime we talk about content generation, I highly recommend that if you're going to do any auto-generated content, you take a very heavy hand either in generating it first and then having the AI edit it, or have the AI generate it and then you edit it heavily so that it doesn't just look like AI generated content, because I think we're all becoming a little bit sensitive to that. But again, a great way to drive some efficiency here. Automated voice of the customer. So this comes back to that piece I was talking about a little bit on the previous slide related to sentiment and summarization. And again, one of the biggest challenges for communities, like anyone that's ever run a community that has product ideation in it knows that there's this huge challenge of how do I actually communicate? What are the hot topics right now? What do customers really care about? Where are there things that they're really challenged by? Where are the things that they're really excited about? And being able to combine some of the summarization capabilities, the content generation capabilities, and the sentiment analysis to pull together a consistent voice of the customer report and then be able to distribute that to product teams or to CX teams internally, that's really, really powerful for demonstrating your community's value and the insights that it can really bring. And then finally, design. And this is another area that I hadn't thought of before I talked to this user that I think is so exciting. So we actually have a case study from Glean that's available on our user community. You can go read it. I can share a link when I'm able to access the chat again after I'm done sharing my slides here. But they did a really interesting one where when they first launched their community, they did it pretty quickly and they kind of had minimum design on it. And then for a V2, the community manager really wanted to make it look and feel more like the Glean brand. And Glean, by the way, is an AI tool. It's one that I've gotten to use. I really like it. And the Gleaniverse community looks so cool. You should go check it out. But in the case study that's on our community, she outlines how she used Canva to put together the graphic design and then was able to use Claude and ChatGPT to implement all of the coding. And over the course of about 7 business days, was able to redesign her community and implement new design work across it without having to engage her development team, without having to hire contractors, anything like that. And so I think it's a great example that this is a really powerful tool. And if you go look at it, their community is really cool looking. So go check that one out as well. Okay, so this is going to be a sort of a summary of all of the different ways that I have come up with and discovered so far that you could be using AI for community. This is certainly not exhaustive. I'm sure that there are more ideas. I can't wait to hear some of yours. But just to review, when we talk about managing your community, moderation and safety are always key. And AI can really help you get to the bad posts that you need to remove faster, take better action on things, and keep stuff moving in your community. Agents and custom bots are, there's sort of an infinite number of different ways that you could leverage those technologies to help you perform tasks, help you think through things, help give you feedback, and really serve as another member of your team. Content development. So I mentioned different kinds of roundups. I think this is particularly helpful in those cases where you have to do something where you have to have a lot of versions of something over and over. For example, I know that in the past when I've had to promote a webinar, I'm like, I need to come up with 6 different posts I can do about this same webinar on social or in my community. And I think AI can be really helpful for doing some of those different versions, those different lenses, those different tones of voice. When I was running a user group program, we used to have basically the same information, but separated for like each user group and slightly personalized to them. AI is a great place to help you with that kind of content adjustment. We talked about sentiment analysis and voice of the customer, understanding what's going on in your community and helping to share it both with your users and with internal teams. Design. I love that Glean example. I'm sure there's more. I'd love to hear about them. But think about the great power that this gives you as an individual community manager to be able to actually make changes in your community. I know it works particularly effectively with the widget builder capabilities that we have in Higher Logic, but I'm sure there's other systems where that's going to be a really effective tool as well. And finally, automation. That is sort of the low-hanging fruit with a lot of the way that we can be using AI to help us and not get in our way, is just taking care of some of those routine tasks. On the customer side, post composition. Now, I haven't spoken about this yet, and I will talk about some of those end user facing tools a little bit more as we get into Higher Logic's actual capabilities. But how many times have you seen a post in your community that's like one sentence, and you have to ask all of these follow-up questions so that you have any idea what the person's actually getting at and actually needs? Sometimes that's a language barrier. Sometimes people just aren't great communicators or great writers, and they don't really know how to put their thoughts into it. So I think that AI bots that can really help either walk people through, hey, here's all the information that you should have in your post, and it looks like that maybe is missing here, or that can expand an idea out or translate it. That's a really exciting use case that I think could lead to much richer conversations in our communities, and more, it can accelerate resolutions as you're not having to do all of the follow-up back and forth. Translation. I will talk about this as one of the capabilities that we're offering, but I know that it's always been a challenge when I've worked in organizations that had a global user base and a global community. And how do you engage all of these people that maybe don't speak the same languages? And there's always questions about, like, do we translate people's posts? Do we have separate sub-communities? Well, now with AI, you can have users who don't speak the same language still have a conversation with each other, with each of them speaking in their own language, which is just amazing to me. And I think that's going to unlock so much opportunity for connections and engagement at a global scale. Search and AI answers. These are other features that I'll be speaking to, but AI can really help with not just having federated search, but then summarizing the information that it is finding across those multiple sources. Another capability that I haven't spoken about yet, but it's that ability for AI to actually suggest an answer that might go in the community to help make sure that people are getting that information they need. Personalizing content. This one is really exciting as well. One second. So when you think about personalizing content, I think the way that teams have approached this a lot in the past is trying to get account data, so connecting your community to your CRM, and then therefore having information about a user's plan type or what products they're using or their level of experience, and then tagging content and trying to target content to them based on that. AI makes this so much more efficient and effective because it can blend a lot of those data sources on the fly. It can look across these things, and it can personalize content more granularly than cohorts actually to an individual. And so I think that there's going to be some really interesting ways that it can be used to make sure that people are getting the information that is most relevant to them in the future. Onboarding, this is sort of a form of that personalized content, but thinking about how do you introduce users to your community? How do you help them find the users and the content and the events and that kind of thing that are going to be most useful to them, and targeting it to them specifically? So again, rather than having to do it just based on sort of a cohort or a persona, how can you actually target it to that user based on what you know about them? And then finally, matchmaking. I know that I've been in so many organizations where executives come to me and said, like, yeah, I mean, the community is great, but like, is there a way that we can really help people find other users like them that can help them? And a lot of the time I've done this through user groups or through mentorship programs, but how exciting is it that we now have the ability to be able to look at different users, look at their experience levels, look at what they're talking about, and help them find other people that are really going to be the best partners for them in terms of solving challenges and learning from each other. So all sorts of exciting stuff. I think that, AI definitely has some interesting challenges ahead, and we do have to think about how we want to use it thoughtfully. But I think it also is going to really help us overcome a lot of the challenges that community professionals have had for a long time in terms of typically being a small team, a couple of people needing to engage tens of thousands of users, needing to have insights about those users and what they're thinking about and how to best connect them. So these are just some of the ways I suspect this list will grow over the coming months and years as we see different people experimenting with different use cases and as new technologies come out. So now briefly, I'd love to just share a little bit about some of the current and upcoming AI capabilities that we have, and then we're going to turn it over to Q&A, and I would love to hear your thoughts and questions. So give a little bit of thought to what you might want to ask or talk about in a few minutes here. I'm going to move through this slide pretty quickly because I actually have deep dive slides on each of these, but one of the things that is available today is that sentiment analysis. So again, really making it easy to understand what your community is talking about, how they're feeling about different things, and be able to report and take action on that. We do have an AI search assistant, so doing that federated search and summarization to help people find the information that they need more quickly. Suggested answers, so this really will help with that issue of when questions go unanswered. How can you get that question answered for users, especially where it's already documented somewhere in your knowledge base or your blog or your learning paths? And then AI translation. So I was just talking about that a little bit on the previous slide. So for sentiment analysis, like I said, this is currently available. You can evaluate sentiment across your entire site, or what I think is really interesting is you can actually call out specific keywords. So think about the idea that you could put in each of your product names or services or a webinar as those keywords, so you can start to understand not just how people are feeling in general, but how people are feeling about specific topics. Sentiment analysis is helpful for understanding those trends, also for spotting issues early, right? When something starts to pop up and you see a spike in something, you can take action on it before the dumpster fire gets too big, right? The other thing that you can do with a lot of the sentiment analysis is trigger automation rules. So one of the examples I gave before was a community that was taking things that had a strong negative sentiment, automatically generating a ticket and escalating that to internal teams. That's a really great use case. There's lots of other things you could do. You could also find really positive ones, find people that are sharing great information, and maybe that goes to helping to identify who your customer champions and advocates are and that kind of thing. So sentiment analysis, really exciting. I don't have a screenshot of it here, but I've seen one where there's like a list of all of the different keywords that somebody put in and like icons that help indicate like, these are the happy ones, these are the sad ones, these are the angry ones. And so that's another way that you can just really help to understand sort of the zeitgeist of what's going on in your community. AI suggested answers. There's not a screenshot on this slide because I wanted you to really be able to see it, so I put it on its own slide next. But basically what this does is, again, it scans your community content, your knowledge base, other integrated tools like your Zendesk instance or things like that to suggest a relevant response. And so basically the way that this works is if a customer asks a question and it doesn't get an answer, but there is one that's documented out there, the AI will find that information, suggest a potential answer, and then the end user has the option to say, yes, that answers my question, or no, it doesn't. Let's keep waiting for the community to answer it. And so this is a case where it really helps make sure that the user gets the answer more quickly and that you've got that documented, searchable answer now available to your community. Certainly somebody can come in after the bot and add to its answer, can expand on it, can add some nuance. So here's our example. Asking about what year was the German Shepherd officially recognized as a breed? Now, this is something somebody may know. There may also be users who are like, I could Google that for you, but I'm not gonna. But the bot came in and said, hey, we found some information. And as you can see here, the user can then click accept the answer. It would post this answer out here, show that it was, announced by the bot. The bot in this instance is named Scoopy. But be able to show that you've got that answer, and then it's documented and it's searchable, and that person has gotten the information that they need so that they can go on with their day. All right, and then we've got two exciting features coming up in beta, AI Search Assistant. So I've talked about this one a little bit. I'm so excited because we actually rolled this out internally, so we're getting to test it this week ourselves, and hopefully it'll be coming to market soon. But again, this can summarize the search and look across all of your different information sources and provide a summary answer. It does always have a sources list, so you don't have that issue of hallucinations. It's showing you where exactly it's pulling that information from, and then you can click into those articles, those blogs, all of those different sources and really see what that information is. You can interact with the AI Search Assistant to refine the search. Another thing that probably everybody on this call has experienced is that users don't search in terms of your keywords. They search using natural language and conversation, and AI can really help find the right results when this kind of thing happens. And so they can have that sort of chat conversation back and forth to refine those search results and get the information. But my favorite part about all of this is that there is a call to action to ask the community. So even as the person goes through this, if they find the information and they're all set, great, right? They've gotten the help that they needed. But if they haven't, or if they want more input from real people, it will help you compose a post based on your queries, find the right place in the community, and then ask the community. I've seen an instance where we've got this, it says, ask your fellow humans. And so it is still encouraging that user-to-user engagement, even as it's trying to pull all of this information. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. And then I mentioned in there, it does help with that composition as well. And I've just heard someone come off mute. Is there a question for me to answer? I've got one more slide otherwise. Nope. Okay. All right. And then the last feature I wanted to talk about is AI translation. This is another one that's in beta, but is coming forward. And this is that element of helping users speak to each other in their own language. So effectively, say you've got a user that only speaks French and a user that only speaks Italian, and the French user posts a question, the Italian user can go and look at that post and select language and have it translated into Italian. They can respond in Italian, and then the French user can look at it in French, see that Italian user's response translated into French, and they can actually have that real-time conversation. And then a third user could come in and say, well, I only speak English, and have the whole thing translated into English. So now your community has this opportunity to all talk to each other in their native languages where they feel most comfortable, and yet everybody can understand the information. So it's a very inclusive experience.
Spanish, please. Spanish, please.
Yes, yes. And we're planning on supporting 58 languages. So certainly Spanish is in there. We've got a lot of different ones and that kind of thing. So from there, let's move into some Q&A. I'm ready to see everyone's faces and have some conversation. So I'm going to stop sharing my window here and let's dive in.
Yes, thank you. Nicole, that was really interesting. A ton of ideas probably we can bring home as takeaway. Before starting into the questions, I just wanted to share with you that while you were delivering, people on the call was sharing how are they using AI? For instance, Lisa says, I'm using mainly LLMs to assist with content creation.
Mhm.
No, the community software we are using doesn't have yet built-in AI capabilities. So she's like, like using agents to be able to even deliver the right style of writing of the content for their colleagues within the community. Then another one, for instance, Todd mentioned that he's now using AI to improve their SEO metadata when writing content for the community. Then even Todd also shared that he's using AI to evaluate the level of complexity of the content. Like, let's say for 5 years, for 10, for 40, right? So that was very interesting. And Rebecca, for me, was like very interesting. She's also using AI, with all the OKR plan. Very high level decision process and all the goals, lagging indicators, leading indicators, also to analyze data. So yeah, Rebecca was very interesting case. Then Todd asked for by coding games. If someone has been doing games, and I share one of the games that we have available in our new Led by Community platform. So we created a game about the community canvas framework. Now it's like a memory cards game. So the link is there. And the little bit is okay. And then we can have a few questions now. Sorry. Let me see. I think there is a way to actually show them. This one is.
And thank you for all those examples. Like the one about SEO is such a great point, right?
Yes.
I think you can also think about like, how do you repurpose content for an experienced user versus a less experienced user? And I didn't mention vibe coding, but I've actually been experimenting with it, and it's one of the things that we're starting to roll out in our product development is how can we use vibe coding to prototype new things and shorten that development cycle so we can really roll out stuff more quickly.
Yes.
Really, really neat.
It's exciting. So
Also,
Katie
if there's
says,
you want, tell me, I'll go vibe code it.
Katie says, I'm really interested in all of this, and I am currently a HighLogic customer. Is this all possible with the native HighLogic tools, or she needs third-party integrations to make it happen? Because you show a few features of the platform already.
I did. So thanks so much for the question, Katie, and it's nice to see you. So the features that I highlighted at the end there, so the AI translations, the AI search sentiment, AI search assistant, the sentiment analysis, those kinds of things, those are native features in HighLogic. So some of them are available now. The rest will be rolling out very, very soon. We're just sort of finishing the final details that come out of beta testing. One of the things that I've really learned when I first started thinking about AI, I was thinking about like, which tool am I going to use? Right. I was thinking there'd be like one or two systems. And I am increasingly realizing that you have the best success when you blend them and use them together. For example, the design use case that Glean had used Canva plus Claude and ChatGPT. And she actually talks about how she went back and forth between Claude and ChatGPT to like really refine it. It was almost like having two different developers give it input. I've also seen a lot of cases where like people are using ChatGPT to help guide the things that they're using for the vibe coding. So I think it's ultimately the answer is it's going to be a mix. We're certainly going to roll out all of the stuff that is community specific within our own platform. And that's one of the goals too, is to make sure that your data is staying within one system. So anything that's trained on your community is not training other sources, is not going outside, it's staying within your ecosystem. So the capabilities that I was talking about from HighLogic are all our native stuff, but you may still want to look at and use some other tools in addition.
Yes. Thank
you. Those reactions are really fun. I wish I could have seen this while I was.
Yes.
It felt very weird to just look at the slides and not know what was going on.
Yes. I'm not sure why the second question is not loading. I need to go to the arrow.
There we go.
The second one says, what AI tools have you found most effective for managing community and enhancing overall customer experience in terms of agents and custom bots that uses company and human knowledge? Onboarding and matchmaking amongst members. Like you mentioned the cases, but are you aware of any tools or have you personally used?
And I'm probably not the best person to answer this because I haven't tried everything that I spoke to. This was, like I said, data that I collected across about 20 different community managers. The ones that came up over and over were ChatGPT, Claude, Replit is the system I've been using for vibe coding, which I really like. As far as the matchmaking goes, that is something that I foresee will likely be more internal. I do know that Intros AI does that, and I think they were just acquired by Bevy. I'm not sure. So I think, that's a really interesting tool. There's also a lot of really great tools in the customer marketing space around customer advocacy that I've been playing with. I'm a big fan of Champion and Purebound and a couple of the other ones on the market for some of that, like identifying advocates and case study potential and pulling quotes and those kinds of things. But I think it's early days. I think it's really early days on those tools. And my best recommendation is to just get your hands on whatever you can and experiment. I've also been playing with Notebook LM and Notion quite a bit just for my own use. So this is less customer facing, but more just to for example, when I was researching this, I wanted to pull together all of the information from blog posts, from our own team's documentation, from some webinars, from all the people I was talking to and all of those notes. And I was able to put it all in one place and then use the chatbot to talk to it about what have I learned? What is all of this bulk of research? And so that's a really helpful use case as well. So I'm sorry I don't have a crisper answer there, but we'll keep talking about it. And, come back to me in a couple months and I might have some more examples for you.
Yes, I can see. Well, Paul mentioned how close are we to fully localize communities via real-time two-way AI language translation. Well, you already answered the question. It's coming soon.
Yeah, very soon. I mean, I would say that we're 70% of the way there already, just with the tools that are available today. And once we're able to finish rolling out our translation stuff, that will be a reality, which is so exciting. I know I was banging my head against the wall of global communities for many years, and now it's just solved.
Yeah, I love it. Then Octavio says, this is not listed as a question in the question box, but says, what are best ways to make AI to add information in members' database based on their contributions in the community? I love this.
Yeah, so that's where I was talking about just a minute ago, some of the customer marketing tools that are coming out. Those tools are really good for integrating that, looking at all of the different actions that you want to recognize and reward users for. And one of the directions that space is kind of going, and this is something that I'm pushing on really hard because I think it's really important, is not sort of siloing things and saying we're going to give customers recognition for participating in webinars over here, and then if they help customers over here, and then if they do sales references, but rather integrating that all into one program. And so whether customers are participating in marketing activities or sales activities or writing reviews or helping share knowledge in your community, you're tracking that all in one system and putting it together. Now, most of those work best when they are integrated with a CRM. So that is a thing where you're probably looking at having your community platform, some kind of customer marketing tool, and your CRM working all in tandem together. That being said, we're definitely looking at how to bring some of that customer marketing stuff more integrated into the community, so it's not.
Yeah, I think that for a reason, now customer marketing is still trying to separate themselves from the community bit. But I think that in the end, we all do the same. For instance, if people are kind of phrasing the brand, the software, any new feature, you can just take that and share it with the with the team.
Yeah.
And easy as that.
One of the trends that we're seeing in the industry is customer marketing and community coming closer together. In a lot of cases, these teams are starting to be combined within either the marketing department or a CX team. I'll tell you, when I go to customer marketing conferences, customer marketers tend to be like, yes, community, we love community, we need it, we want to surface our advocates and all this stuff. I think it's those of us on the community side tend to be a little bit more like, whoa, I want to be really careful about having marketing in the community and how I do it. I'm always going to encourage people to break down those silos, go work with your other teams. It's a better way to share resources. It's a better way to make a unified customer experience. There's so many benefits to it. And then obviously having the AI technologies to be able to connect the dots across all of that is just the icing on the cake for me.
Yes. Well, there is one more question that you already share a few ideas on how this is happening, but what about the ways we can use AI to help users to interact and engage more with each other?
Yeah, I think one of the key things, and I don't have a specific technology to highlight here, but it's one of the things that I'm thinking about for our own product is how can we surface to users, hey, here's, you were just talking about product A. Did you know that there's a conversation about product A happening over here, and actually start to serve that information to them? Because I don't know about you, but every community I'm on, like, it can be a real challenge to find the conversations that are most relevant, right? Like the communities that I'm most active in, I spend a fair amount of time scrolling through conversations or doing different searches to try to find the things that are of interest to me. How amazing would it be to show up and have a little pop-up that's like, here's a couple things that are happening today that are probably interesting to you. I think doing some of that matchmaking, helping identify other users that you should connect with, helping people get into the right user groups or chapter programs, finding the right webinars or other virtual events to go to. I think all of those are going to be really key to bringing that together. But that's a question I want to think about more. Like, I think this is actually really one of the core questions we should all be asking ourselves about how we're using AI, is how do we really make it facilitate the users talking to each other? I do think the translations will help in terms of just getting users that previously couldn't really interact or engage effectively to talk to each other, but I think that's just one small piece of it.
Yes, I think that we have covered most of them. Because I don't want to kind of expand because of the time, but I think that we have mentioned many of the questions and tried to reply most of them. Before
I just saw one question come in briefly on examples of where people have used ChatGPT agents. Whoever asked that question, reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll introduce you to the person that I was talking to. There's a number of different people that are doing this in different ways, but I can help connect you with somebody. And I'll just put that out there for everybody. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Please feel free to shoot me an email. I don't care whether you're a higher legit customer or not. I want to help you out. I want to talk strategy. I love nerding out on this stuff. So if you have questions, if you have follow-ups, come talk to me.
Yes, we came today to learn. Like, if you notice, like the pitch of high logic was like maybe 0%. So it's not about that, right? We came to learn. Nicole came today to share her experience and what we can learn from these ideas. Nicole, I think that you did great today. Before a few go, I want to see everyone on screen, and let's try to take a picture all together with Nicole.
Yeah.
Let's turn our cameras on for 10 seconds.
And everybody has to smile really big because it's my birthday. So
Yay.
I need to see some grins this morning.
Oh, wow. I remember that. I remember you mentioned that. Yes, I remember that. So thank you for turning on the cameras. It's a little bit of time only, so we can make this happen for Nicole. Coming. I'm going to actually hide the chat so we have more faces. And now I'm going to take my screenshot. I'm just getting notifications. Sorry.
Yeah. Whole thing, right?
Yes, exactly. Okay, give me a smile. Yay. Okay, got you. Thank you for that. Wait for the tag on LinkedIn, please. Yes. Amazing. All right. So if someone, can you hear me yet? Nicole, can you hear me all right?
I can.
Oh, okay, amazing. Okay. I just wanted to steal 1 minute of attention. I want to share to everyone the actual game we did with AI about the community canvas framework. So if you go to our website and you check resources and then you go to games, you can find this one, and then you click one card, and then you can find the other one, and then you can kind of do the matches. You have a few attempts. There is time moving and happening. So if you want to have fun, or you think that you are a master of the Canvas framework, then likely this is for you. There you go. Now just a few seconds, so you can have some fun. All right. There you go. I think that we are done. Again, I wanted to say, oh, there is a bug there. I cannot stop sharing. Sorry. Okay, it's not working for me. If Paola, you can cancel that. It's not working for me.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for having me today, Francisco.
Yeah.
This was awesome. I hope to see as many of you as possible in Toronto or one of the other Led By events that are coming up. It's going to be a great time.
Yes. Thank you so much, Nicole, for your time today. And thank you, everyone, for coming and share their experience with AI as well. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.